one of the software companies that I started, I invested six figures at the start, which has worked out to be very well financially at the moment. But I also started working in it for 2 years without salary. And it was probably just under 2 years, but we'll round up to 2 years, which meant that I was putting in six figures of cash and I was paying for my living expenses at the time in order for me to build this software company from like the ground up. And so like I had...
Can I just ask a question on that? First off, we should have put a vacuum sound effects on our tool series because I can hear the cash in hindsight. But
feel the pain in my voice.
At that point, did you feel really good about that decision? Like, did you actually feel like you were almost like laying a sacrifice to your success, like playing this delayed gratification game?
It's interesting. There have been many seasons of Grant in business, to which I know you and I were friends through quite a few of these. So I did very well through a digital agency, and I was living overseas, and I'd had like little investments that had done quite well. But I called it like the drunken existence, not because I was drunk, like I was working like every single day, but I was reading, I was going to the gym, I was doing yoga, I was going to the beach, I was doing all of these things that most people dream of.
So you had the lifestyle everyone's going for. Got it.
I had the lifestyle, and I lived it for years.
You don't sound like an asshole at all right now. Continue.
But the problem was, I get to a point where I'm like, this digital agency ain't going to create a legacy. Like, I'm not going to like say, hey kids, check this thing out. I'm doing like SEO and websites and stuff for people. I'm like, this is like a means to an end. This is to unlock better doors, to do better things. And at the time I read a lot of philosophy books and a lot of like stoicism and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I need my legacy play. I need that next thing. So I actually ended up selling a lot of my businesses in order for me to go into like a better legacy play. And so I reached out to my network and I said, like, hey, look, I'm looking to sink my teeth into something like and just go whole hog on this thing. And that was the company. And so I was trying to run an agency at a smaller scale and this at the same time. So pull in profits to basically pay for the investments into this. And it just wouldn't work out. So then like I lost clients because I wasn't servicing them. And then essentially I just closed it. And it was just like me and this like software business and like a decent bank account that was just depleting over and over and over again until it got to a point where they were generating revenue. We raised money, happy days and all that kind of stuff. And that's another story for another day. But it got to a point a couple of years later where we'd raised money. The CEO at the time, so I was in the business in leadership role, just not the CEO at the time. And he had sort of not managed finances very well, hadn't scaled very well. And myself and one of my co-founders had to step back in. And so this is a big story for another day. But essentially, we right-sized the organization. We did a lot of things that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners would struggle to do. And it was dark days. And so we stepped back in the business. We didn't pay ourselves a salary for about 12 months just to get this thing back on its feet, back to profitable, back to scaling. But that was at a time when I was like looking at other things, doing like other businesses, investing in other products. And I had to stop to step back in. And I knew I was stepping into some pain. I just did not know how much pain that was going to be. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so that went for, about 12 months. I was working Monday to Saturday. I know you and I caught up for dinner quite a few times during this, and it was the most mentally challenging, financially challenging, all that kind of stuff. Like Hazel was working full time, thank gosh.
You were a mess, and I always had to pay for dinner. It sucked. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I had some money to make it.
No.
But I'm sitting there.
It was an interesting time in your life. If you had to put a number on it, right, over this period of time, how much would you think that was like the financial loss through this?
Yeah. So if I was an exec of a company of that size, like the salary is mid 100, maybe up to 200, which I obviously didn't pay myself. I did a 50% debt to the company. So there is a debt on the company for the time that I've allocated, but we capped it all. So we came in there knowing that we'd cap it all. So it was like a 50% of a potential market rate. So from an income perspective, that was missed out on. But the main pain was the opportunity cost, because there were other doors that were being unlocked, other things that were happening that I had to say no to just so that I could keep this thing alive and just keep it punching forwards. And so it was personal income from a monthly basis impact, plus depleting savings that I had again, but also the opportunity cost of not being able to seize with my time these other opportunities.
It's like a layered one. It's a very layered one. There's opportunity cost. There's different business opportunity cost as well. Like there's like significant. It's not just the salary opportunity cost of doing the same role. It's like the businesses you shut down, the loaned money as well. Like that could have bought other assets or things along the way. Like very interesting that one comes out. If you could go back in time, what would you change?
It's an interesting one. I think I was quite a bit of a mercenary, and obviously, you know, a bit about myself. Like I'm the first guy to jump on a hand grenade. I love it. Throw a problem at me and I'd dive onto it. I think at that time we probably should have done a better approach of realizing that this was coming prior. So the canary in the coal mine had basically started coughing like well before, and I'd started sort of communicating, like, hey, something's not quite right here. But other people around me are like, I know it is. And I should have done a better job of communicating why and how we should be approaching it, because the pain from a stress level and a complexity on how to solve it level would have been less, or we would have known what we were stepping into beforehand. It was like when I was sort of mentioning it sort of 6-12 months prior, everyone was like, no, it's okay. It's going to work itself through. And I said, okay, cool. As long as everybody else is on this, like I was in a room with 8 people and 7 of them were like, no, you're missing something. And I'm like, okay, cool, missing something, no worries at all. I think I should have done better at it, but I also don't think that myself and my co-founder were the only ones that could have solved it. I think that we could have got other people to help us solve it who wanted skin in the game and who wanted to do some of these things, not just us diving into the trenches and digging us out.
So
which, by the way, we have dug ourselves out as an 8-figure business and like all these things. Like the story is great and it still continues.
I was going to say we should absolutely highlight that this does have a good. Like this is like I could completely see a story next that is like and lost all my money.
but totally, and that's kind of where it sits at, and that's the world that we live in. And so, yeah, for me it was financial impact, but also like opportunity cost and all. There's so many layers to it, and I'd done it twice.
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into being a full stack business owner, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.